Oh. Alright?
Yeah.
Maybe this one here is dangerous.
Yeah, maybe.
There you go. Cool.
Cool.
It's like being in the set of a movie. In a way, isn't it? I suppose your work is quite cinematic in many ways.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that a fair comment?
I think so. I think, yeah, the way I sometimes think about it visually, or even, I don't know why exactly, but yeah, I think that it's something that people do say a fair bit. It's not necessarily something I set out to do, but maybe it sometimes comes off like that. Why do you say that?
I find the composition of your work and the aesthetics of your work very cinematic in many ways. The poetry of it. Very like almost like Hollywood style. Kind of. Does that make sense? Like old school Hollywood.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Interesting.
I don't really know like how properly to explain it, other than the fact that it feels like I am watching a live movie in many ways.
Interesting.
Specifically with Celebration Florida.
Right.
But maybe that's just because of the setting of it. Or...
Yeah, I wonder if some of that sometimes can feel like that. Is everything on fire?
No, just like my hair.
Please tell me if my hair is on fire.
Will do.
I wonder if sometimes some of that can come from music or like feel like a soundtrack, because I do like to think of I do work like songs, like specifically more than just like music or a soundtrack of a show. Like I like to think of songs in connection with shows. So like so in Ted Bundy Project there was a few songs that I felt like Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, that this song from the 70s was quite an important part of that show. And for Celebration Florida it was all loads of versions of Stand By Me. So that can sometimes have a little pop sort of element to it, not so like poppy pop, but like popular music, known music that has like some emotional shortcuts or some resonances or connotations that can heavily color what you're seeing in a way that often happens in movies, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something like that going on.
Yeah, and also probably the huge like American cinema that it has in the way we perceive American culture, or American identity, perhaps has a big impact on how we here might read your work.
Yeah, I think maybe there's that too, for sure. Like people often say that about when I tell them something about like my life or something, or going to high school or whatever, people quite often say, oh, that sounds like it's from a film or something. Because especially if it's anything to do with high school or anything like that, there's like, because there's so many movies about like American high school TV shows that is, if you didn't grow up there, like that's your impression of what that is. And there are some elements to it that are kind of like that. So if you describe it or talk about it, people are like, oh my god, it's like from a film. And you kind of go, well, yeah, those images came from with like from real life too, so like, I don't know, it's interesting. But it's also these like heightened images of the real life, but
I suppose that brings us a little bit to almost the end.
Yeah.
What's in the future for Greg? What do you want to like in the future? Like, what do you want to do?
I feel like for me personally, moving forward is a lot about connection and collaboration. Whereas I think up to this point or near this point, for me there's been a lot of like, I guess just personally speaking, with my practice, it's been a lot of like getting to know myself through my practice in some ways, and like getting to grips with what I want to do or be or say as an artist and as a person, and that for me has meant that I've tried. This is probably why I've made a lot of solo work, almost all solo work so far, is because it's like a process of putting myself in a position where I have to take responsibility for what it is that I'm doing or saying, and because it's only mine, you know. Someone comes to see a show and it's made by me and the ideas are me and what you're saying and hearing is me, so there's no one else for me to defer responsibility for that to. And I think I've gotten to a point now where maybe it's a little bit of a shift in that, you know, all the ideas I have for the future are about collaborating with other people, whether it's just collaborations with other artists or collaborating with other people still in my work, but inviting other people into that process and allowing them and their presence and who they are to also be present in the work. And so I think and as a response to some of the political events here and in the US, I just feel like I do feel an impulse personally and artistically, to look a little bit more outward and outside of myself, and for maybe my singular voice, maybe not to be fully all that's present in my work, you know, for there to be a little bit more just more outward looking and engaging with the world, more so than just like showing myself, you know.
Do you think that that sense of like wanting to open up more doors for other people to come into Wohead's world has to do like with the sense of like, and please say like no, you're talking bullshit if you need to, but I just wonder if up until now you kind of needed to kind of go, this is me, so then you could open up, so it's sort of almost like an adaptation process, like into a new context when you came into this country. Do you know what I mean? Because you, like, I was thinking about what you said earlier on, that you didn't really have performance art or live art references back in America, so you kind of had to navigate your way so that you can go, hey, welcome in, kind of thing.
Definitely. I think for me it has had to be a process of getting to this certain point before I feel like I'm at a point where I can invite other people into what I'm doing or what I want to do, and let them actually have an effect on what that is also, you know. So it has been a process of getting to grips with what I'm even doing, and also to be able to not be reckless with other people, you know. I feel like I needed to have a certain level of confidence or skill or care, I don't know quite what, so that I'm respectful and accepting of what other people have to offer, and can do that in a way that is hopefully as unselfish as it can be, while still making the work what I think it should be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think you can rename yourself to Greg and Co?
What's that?
Greg and Co.
Greg and Co.
Greg and Co.
I don't know, we'll see. That's a big step.
Greg, thank you so much.
Cool, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
It's really nice.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Let's do this more often.
Yeah.
Let's do this all the time.
Just like lay on the bathroom floor and talk with candles.
Exactly. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. It's not as relaxing as the idea of it is.
No, exactly. I mean, that'd be quite an interesting thing if it happened, you know, for the video.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be fun. Should we do it?